agenda.
Second.
Motion by the Honorable Mary Norwood, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by the Honorable Antonio Lewis, seconded by the Honorable Matt Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Is there a motion to adopt the full council agenda? Moved by the Honorable Antonio Lewis, seconded by the Honorable Amir Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The full council agenda has been adopted.
Mr. Johnson, do we have any speakers at this time?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 3. The first will be Brother Anthony Muhammad.
Urgency, you had to run to the bathroom real quick.
Thank you. We'll get back to him. Next speaker.
Tamayas Roper.
I would like to yield my time to Shakur.
Thank you. Mr. Ron
Greetings.
Shakur.
Yes.
Mr. Antonio Muhammad is back now. Let's hear from him today.
All right, come on, let me go back. Come on.
He got emergency. I don't know what they caught him in the room. I know his situation a little bit. My name is Ron Shakir. Ms. Boone, Chair of the Committee on Council. I want to apologize for anybody or everybody who happened to have been in the room for what happened last week. It got very contentious about the fact of what I know is the process that's accepted in committee. And most know it. And I was communicated by Mr. Wan that I know the rules and that I can't give my time to nobody, nobody can give time to me. He was wrong in that. And a man of his status, and as long as he's been on a committee council, I don't feel shy by saying he was lying. It was not true, and he know it. But he wanted to put shade on public engagement. The city of Atlanta has gone from airy engagement, decent and honorable in this city. You was able to talk to someone before a vote was taken. You was able to come at the beginning of the meeting. You was able to come at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock or when the bus or however you got down here and you was able to engage in this committee, in this government process. But when Westmoreland came, I don't know if that was advocacy, but we went from having a discussion to be able to engage in the beginning and then at the end, and he made it one time. In the next year, we all at one time in the morning. There are citizens who can't get down here, who are concerned about it. They're mothers, they're business people, they're artists who have told me in a despair that I can't get down here no more. Adrian Coleman, someone you know, Mr. Shook, you know Ms. Boone, whose family was a pioneer and her hard work was a pioneer about public access in this city. But they can't make it. And Mr. Westmoreland, I would hope that you can be a leader to maybe addressing that situation. Because I appreciate you when you asked at the meeting just a day before, when you stated, okay, who's taking the time? You managed it. There was a concern about who signed up and who didn't sign up, who was who was able to navigate the computer, who wasn't. And you had an eye looking out. And you asked those to come. And you exalted the room until they did come. Mr. Wan sat there that he's the third in line to anybody who had been here the longest. Nobody been here longer than Ms. Norwood and Mr. Shook. But we cannot be shaded in this country about being able to engage our elected officials. Martin Luther King said, a riot is the voice of those who've been shut out. I apologize to the police department downstairs when I walked in this room, when I walked in this building. I apologize to the staff when I walked in this room. I went to the clerk's office, I apologize, so I apologize to you all. But don't newcomers come in here and take or be blind to the voices that need to be heard just because. No need to do it, because I've been coming down here when the salary was $32,000 a year. Now it's a handsome $72,000 a year. And Mr. Shook, I haven't had the chance to talk to you much, but did they take any of your staff away after they gave you that raise? Sir? The question is no, no staff was taken away. So why are we going to take away voices of people? For little houses? You know the impact of little houses? You know the impact of Airbnbs? I'm looking forward to that, Mr. Shook, because you was concerned about it on the north side. I'm concerned about it on the south side, because I believe they had some meetings recently where they're looking at the beauty of tiny houses. There was 14 children used to catch the bus across the street from me. There's 4 now. I saw in the Board of Education last month it's going to consider some schools closing. This young lady gave me her time. She's dealing with some issues of housing. And she wanted me to talk about it maybe, you know. But we're in a crisis. We tore down public housing. And then we gave everybody vouchers, but nobody can use vouchers today. Your legislation impacts families and children. And you should not engage in any of it. Now, you should not pass any of it or support any of it until you see the impact on the neighbors, the same neighbors that Martin Luther King talked about, that after 300 years of servant, brutal slavery, no land or provisions was made for them, as newcomers in this country was given land and training. Where do we stand today? Because there's mothers out here, and they're going to be coming here. And there's fathers out here that's going to be coming here. And they need to be heard. And I would hope that legislation reflects the fact what is going to be the impact of your neighbors and the people who matter in here who has been dismissed and displaced.
Next speaker.
I am, that is this thing on? I am that I am, a Negus, King of Kings, committed, indigenous, antiquity, spiritual being. I command the ancestors to teach my soul spiritual energy every day. And I'm not a believer in the Roman Catholic Church religion, Christianity. In your Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, not one human person, not one person was born from a woman, womb, canal. My Aunt Matriarch Hotep, Ashe. I call on the ancestors, and I command the ancestors, and I command the ancestors and antiquity to teach humanity with the spiritual energy to turn from their wicked ways. These revelations that is being known by the church today. We got old Mr. Walnut, I talked to him, asked for affordable housing. He didn't want to talk about it, Mr. Walnut. Miss Stacey Abrams, I was one of your campaigns. You have a choice, but what about allowing the child to live? Shouldn't we want what the Creator wants? My ancestors taught civilization. My ancestors taught the Caucasian. And as we talked, you took away, some of you all did, and gave the world illumination. It gave them a wrong wheel to represent. You got this man, a professor, Dane and Mingalo, Red Hot City, houses, race, and exclusion in the 21st century. What race he talk about, Ms. Boone? You and your people. Your people living on the street. Ebenezer Baptist Church had the father of Martin Luther King, had Martin Luther King represented, standing up for justice for some of the darker matter people, but he was inclusive of all people. But why would you have them on the street, Walnut? You got a building down there, Walnut, that y'all own. Got people don't pay rent, you want to put them out door. What kind of empathy is that? I'm tired of it. I'm 70 years old. I was segregated, Mr. Westmoreland, down in Thompson, Georgia. Know how it works. And in the 21st century, you got these miseducated Negroes. Don't get mad at me. Carter G. Woodson wrote a book 100 years ago. Talk about how you going to get the philanthropists up that day to give you money so you can be able to say what he wants. Look what we got in the election. One man on one plantation and another man on the old plantation. Now, how is it going to benefit my people and poor people? I say as I did not say. I greet you. Assalamu alaikum. Mayat Metro Hotel. Ashe, and Ashe. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you. Any more speakers, Mr. Johnson?
Madam Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Will you please sound item 1?
Madam Chair, can we jump down to our held section and take item number 7?
Okay, number 7. Item number 7.
Item number 7, 22C 5179. A communication from council members Jason Winston, District 1, Amir R. Faroki, District 2, Byron Amos, District 3, Jason Dozier, District 4, and Michael Julian Bond, Post 1 at large, appointing Dr. Tony Burks to serve as a member of the Human Relations Commission. This appointment is for a term of 3 years.
Is Mr. Burks here? Come forward, sir, and tell us why you would like to serve on this auspicious board.
Good morning. I am Dr. Tony Lemaire Burks II, a writer, career educator, parent, resident of Atlanta, Georgia since 2012. So I think that I could benefit, one, by being a participant on this committee, this council, this commission, Human Relations Commission, but I also think that in addition to me learning from this work, I think I bring a lot from my experiences over the last 30 years in education to bear with that. As a writer, I've worked on projects as diverse as, most recently, the Queen Sugar Learning Companion for Ava DuVernay and her team, as well as the Learning Companion for Colin in Black and White. Been a part of curriculum development in districts around the nation. We're served as the superintendent in residence with the National Center for Urban School Transformation. I'm a citizen of the world in so many ways, and so I think I can bring that understanding, that experience to bear. Final thing, I'll say this. So in addition to my work as an educator, in addition to my work as a writer, in the last 4 or 5 years, I've taken a really reflective moment in life. And so I graduated and was ordained as a minister. So I attended the Barbara Lewis King School of Ministry. So in addition to all those things, an ordained minister. And I think ultimately, building Dr. King's beloved community is about really connecting with individuals, connecting with people, and considering how this commission can impact the city of Atlanta for the good of the whole, ultimately.
Do we have any questions from our colleagues? I would like to move approval. Second by the Honorable Amir Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This takes us back to section G. Madam Chair, can I take items number 1 and 2 together as a block?
Please proceed.
Section G, Communications. Item number 1, 22C 5176. A communication from Council President Doug Shipman appointing Mr. Sergio Mendez to serve as a member of the Atlanta Commission on Veterans Affairs. This appointment is for a term of 2 years. Item number 2, 22C 5177. A communication from Council members Marcy Collier Overstreet, District 11, Antonio Lewis, District 12, Keisha Shawn Waste, Post 3 at large, reappointing Mr. Clifford Ice to serve as a member of the Water and Sewer Appeals Board. This appointment is for a term of 3 years to begin retroactively on November 7, 2022, and expire November 6, 2025.
Do we have a motion? Move approval of the Honorable Matt Westmoreland, seconded by the Honorable Antonio Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. And Madam Chair, that concludes our legislative items for today.
Okay, now we would like to have a report by the Honorable Vice Chair Mary Norwood.
As we were discussing at the last council meeting, our concern about our young people and the recent killing of 2 of our young people. We were talking about how we would get things organized so that we could address the situation. And so as Vice Chair of COC, I have reviewed what we have already on the books. And this first page for each of you is a synopsis. We have two different legislative positions on this. The first was the Youth Commission many years ago. It was started in, legislated in 1995 by C.T. Martin, and has 3 different groups: a governing board, a Youth Action Coalition, and a Youth Advisory Board. Then, with the previous administration, our current mayor introduced and was passed a resolution for a Commission of Fatherhood Men and Boys. As you look down these lists, the most recent one has 5 filled positions, which have not expired yet, and 14 vacant positions. The next is the Youth Commission has the first part of it, the governing board, has 12 filled positions, 3 vacant. All of those have expired. The Youth Action Coalition is a group that is, and you can see the legislation, I've given y'all that as well, the Youth Commission information. The Youth Action Coalition was founded to help between the governing board and the Youth Advisory Board. So the Youth Action Coalition only has 1 filled position and 48 vacant, because every single NPU is supposed to appoint someone to that. Again, this is left over since 1995. The Youth Advisory Board has 13 filled positions and 9 vacant positions. So my recommendations, after looking over all of this information, would be to combine the Commission on Fatherhood Men and Boys with the Youth Commission Governing Board. Those positions are similar and the duties are similar. The Youth Action Coalition, I would recommend that we dissolve that. It's 48 positions that need to be filled, 1 by every single NPU. You only have 1 filled position and you have 48 vacancies. That is not one that is age specific. Now, the Youth Advisory Board is age specific. You would need to be 12 to 22 years old to serve on that one. And as you can see, we have 13 filled and 9 vacant. So my recommendation would be that we combine the Commission of Fatherhood Men and Boys with the governing board of the Youth Commission and fill it. Both of those need to be filled together, and then have the Youth Advisory Board, which are young people between 12 and 22 years old. So my request would be for the staff to report back to the council in January who is willing to continue to serve, because most of these positions have expired, and then give us a new list of appointments that need to be made. And so those are my recommendations, to combine, to reach out to everyone with an expired, whose appointment is expired, see if they are willing to serve. We need to check on the ages of the Youth Advisory Board, because you have to be between 12 and 22, and several of those were appointed several years ago. And then I would recommend we dissolve the Youth Action Commission Coalition, because when you look at it, it is merely an administrative function to try to move the processes along. And that's my report.
Thank you. We have one speaker, the Honorable Antonio Lewis.
Thank you, Councilmember, for doing this work. My question was around the combining of the Commission on Fatherhood, Men and Boys. I think it was, that's so targeted. I think that to combine it with something else would probably change what it does, because it's supposed to just focus on just specific people. Maybe I'm confused, unless you can clear that up for me.
I'll be happy to hand everybody a copy of this legislation that our current mayor sponsored in 2021, and they don't need to be combined. It is just how, if we've got 14 vacancies on men and boys and only 3 vacancies on the Youth Commission, do we want to be finding, and you've only got 5 positions that are filled on fatherhood, men and boys. If it certainly is perfectly fine to leave them separate. What I was looking at is an organization, whether it's the governing board of the Youth Commission or the Fatherhood, Men and Boys, but some organization that we already have established to do the work of all of the organizations, that some of which came before us last council meeting, all of those organizations that say, we help men and boys, we help young people, we help the youth. I'd like to know what they do, when they do. I'd like a matrix. I'd like to know how many people they serve. I'd like to know where those people are. I'd like to know who's in each of those locations and what hours are they serving. So we have a whole lot of people across my 25 years down here that are trying to help our young people. I think there needs to be greater coordination. And when you look at 4 groups right here that have been legislated, let's either combine them or give each one specific tasks. But rather than to say we need to do a whole fresh analysis, we have a lot of people appointed already, and that's why I've given you all the complete sheet of who is there that is appointed, including on one of these is our Deputy Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief Operating Officer, LaShondra Butler. She's one of the people who is on this list, and she could be very helpful.
Okay, let's take some time, maybe the next 3 weeks, to really look at this and get some input from the community on these issues.
Okay.
And let's come back and meet on these very important commissions. It may be that we need to combine or stand up some of these commissions, bring some energy to them. Mr. Lewis?
That was all I was going to say. I just don't think we should combine that one in particular. Thank you.
That's fine with me.
Any questions or concerns from my colleagues? Are there any other legislative business at this time? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.